Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor. We are here with Alliance. Oh, I clicked play and it exited the video. We are here with Alliance War Season 55, Number 8, and AOH has matched up against Jwin. So we do have a pretty cool war here on both accounts because in the same war, I get to use my rank 3 Gambit on my main and my rank 3 Hood on my alt. So, and both of them are used for several fights. It was a very fun war. I really enjoyed playing this war. Of course, we're going to have our normal Stealthy and our normal Luke Cage fights, but it was a really fun war for sure. So we have this Sasquatch on node 5. Nothing really going on here. There is the debuff immunity, and because I don't need a WAG, we didn't send one. So I'm just going to take this. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I think in this war I also take node 38 if I recall correctly. However, oh yeah, I definitely do. I remember who was on the node now, without wags as well, but I've just gotten kind of used to the matchup, so I don't really need wags, but obviously it does help for sure. So I did throw on an invuln boost here, and it is the only invuln boost I had left. So you can see at this point I'm really debating it. I'm thinking, should I throw it on? And I was thinking in my head, I was thinking over all of the remaining fights, and I thought, yeah, this is honestly the only one where it makes any sense to use one. So we're going to use it here for this Sasquatch, because the next fight we have on this path is a really fun, really unconventional matchup. As you can see, the defender is Photon. And let's just say we use a very unique strategy for that fight. But Sasquatch, he's tactic. Stealthy's tactic. Not too much to worry about here. We're just going to remove the protection, continually pause it, and this guy's going to go down without too much trouble. I think in this fight I don't push him to L2. One thing that is a little bit different when you're not using WAGs is that is going to be a little bit harder for you. I don't know why I didn't do a medium attack, because there was a risk that didn't push to L2, but luckily it did. There is obviously a greater risk of losing your passives, as well as not pausing your slow, and that is because the parry stun without wags is not long enough to dash out and dash back in, while with wags it is long enough to do that very safely. So yeah, here we're going to bait one last L2, and then this Stealthy is going to go down in under a minute. So for a rank, or Stealthy is going to go down. I meant Sassy is going to go down. And now we go to probably my most fun fight of the war. I mean, there's really satisfying and cool fights later on, but this one was really interesting because we're actually going to be using the Enervate pre-fight. When we were trying to plan for this fight, we weren't really sure who to send, and I suggested the strategy that I'm going to use in this fight, and my officer said, sure, you can try it. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be playing no block. So I'm going to be outranging her medium attack and countering with a light attack, which is consistent if you know the spacing. And we have now reapplied our Enervate, which means that we are going to get our Fury. Here we're going to throw our L1. This is going to remove the protection, and we're just not going to let our protection come back for the rest of the fight. And the way that you line up outranging her medium is you have to already be pretty far back on your screen when she dashes, so that when you dash, you avoid it at a time that doesn't push you as far back as a normal Dex would, and that does allow you to safely get the light attack. There, I actually got the correct timing. I just didn't counter because I'm stupid. But yeah, here you see we're just outranging her perfectly, and the fight goes down in under a minute. 0 damage taken. Not a single hit to the face, not a single blocked hit. Absolutely flawless fight. And I have done that matchup so many times on the boss node, like over 5 times, that I just got so used to the spacing that even though this is a year later, I was able to do it first attempt. I did do a couple duels just to make sure I had the spacing, but no, even in my practice, I was never missing it. So I just kind of got so used to it because she was such a meta boss at the time that, and this was like right when she came out, that, I don't know, just kind of made sense. And here we are going to have to change our mastery tree because the bleed and suicide setup that I had was also with poison. And I want to be running half ouchies, I guess. So we are going to be wanting to run the bleed mastery, but not the poison mastery here for our Gambit fights. And that was just the plan here, so I did have to take a little bit of time. And unfortunately, the tree was being really slow for me to put my points in. But let me just speed it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to get into a few Gambit fights, but as the title says, this is the best crit RNG I've ever seen. And Gambit is a champion that is criticized for the fact that if he doesn't crit, he doesn't do that much damage. However, when he does crit, using him is like clicking a delete button. You just delete fights so fast, it's like they never even happened. And you're about to see that in this war. We are going to fight Onslaught on this protection node. The strategy is going to be to obviously use an L1 boost so we can get to our L2 as fast as possible. But we are just going to be baiting L1. I think we're only going to bait L1 once in this whole fight right here. And then once we are at our 10 charges, we are going to bait heavy and counter with a heavy to remove the protection and throw our L2 and watch what happens. 1 crit, 2 crit. We got full crits on our first fight, so I'm like, yo, that's actually really cool. In the moment, this is what I was thinking. I thought, oh, that's actually really cool that we got that. Nice. I mean, even if we hadn't, you could see that even with 1 out of 2 crits, you get yourself back to an L2, or at least 1.5 bars, at which point you wouldn't even have to bait a special. You would just 5-hit combo into the L2, and the defender would be down. But we're going to fight this Annihilus up next. Pretty similar idea, except we won't really have a good opportunity to throw our heavy attack in this fight, but that's fine. It's not really that big of a deal because we will be able to do it eventually, as you will see. Trying to get to my L2, unfortunately, it is going to take a little bit of time because I'm not going to be able to land any parries. And there I landed my parry, but I did not react fast enough to throw my heavy attack. So here we're just trying to remove all the unstoppables. Here we're going to heavy him. And now we are going to unleash the L2. 1 crit, 304,000 crit. So far, in a champion, with a champion that crits about half of the time, we have crit 4 out of 4 times, which is not very likely. If you're someone that knows statistics, very unlikely to happen. And what happens in the next fight is just as crazy. Our next fight's actually not a stealthy fight. So not a Gambit fight. It's a stealthy fight. So we're gonna have this fight against Warlock, and then we're going to be back on Gambit duty for the fight after that, which was actually my last fight of the war. Yeah. The next Gambit fight. But this Warlock is on node 38, the protection node. We still have the L1 boost going, and I know it's not going to last me into my next fight, so I'll just need to use an extra SP1 boost, but I didn't figure there was any reason to use an invuln boost on a fight like this. This is Warlock. We are getting our knockdown really early before we've even gotten our Fury from our personal abilities, and that's just because I wanted to knock him down before he got to a special. And then here we're going to get, unfortunately, an unstoppable trigger, and we're trying not to dex here, so we do end up hitting 3 parries, which was really cool. Here we reapply our slow, and there are going to be a couple times, unfortunately, that I do have to take part of the L1 on the block because while I do know how to do it, I don't know how to do it consistently enough to go for it in war. So that's more than okay, though. At this point, I have not yet realized that I don't have my Fury because I just never reapplied the slow, and here I think is when I'm going to realize it. No, I still have not realized. So I'm doing way less damage than normal. You'll see my crits are hitting for like 6k. When Stealthy is boosted for war and he has his Fury, your light attack should be critting for about 12 to 13,000. So a little under double attack. I just never noticed. You see, I still don't have my Fury. I literally just never noticed in this fight because I'm so used to playing the fight the same way at the start where I get the Fury first before the knockdown. But because I didn't have Wags here, I chose to go for it after. And yeah, the protection is actually going to come back here, but because I was in the middle of a combo, yeah, looks like we're going to bait an L2 first, but yeah, then the fight's going to go down. I literally never got my Fury in this fight, which is why it took so long. Easily could have cut 50, not 50, like 30 to 40 seconds off that fight. That fight should have taken about 1 minute 15 seconds if I'd gotten my Fury right away. Genuinely just was not paying attention and forgot. So there we go. There we just did swap our masteries real quick. So we're going to go into our final fight of the war, which is going to be this Bullseye on node 42, which is the stun reflection node. And as I always do with the stun reflection nodes, what am I doing here? Oh, I just do one duel to see if to make sure I know heavy counter heavy spacing. And I got it right every single time in my duel, so I decided to just go straight into the fight. And because I didn't have an L1 boost ticking or something, it's fine. We're 18 minutes away from our first boost expiring, so definitely not a concern. But the normal thing that I do against damage reflection nodes is when it is when it's relevant to control the beginning of the fight the way I want it to, I intentionally eat the reflection damage, and we are going to do that twice in this fight just because I do think it's the fastest way to ramp up, and I would rather take 800 damage in reflection. That is all going to get healed up from willpower with the bleed with the bleed I have active. I'd rather that than take a couple combos into the block. But my first L2 killed again, and that was a rank 3 Bullseye in 25 seconds. When I told my officer I could take that, he was like, that is a terrifying matchup, but okay. I trust you. Go take the fight. And he was relieved to see that the fight went well. But even in the event that the special doesn't crit, like literally if I got 0 for 2 crits there, I would have sold that fight so effortlessly. I would have cleaned it up. And because I had the strategy in my head for the backup, like if my special doesn't crit, this is how I'm going to do it. And trust me, I was very confident. There was no chance I was dying there, even if every single special attack for the whole fight didn't get a single crit. But here, hold on, got to skip forward a little bit to when I start boosting. Yeah, we did end up going 6 for 6 on crits with Gambit in this war. Every single fight died in a single special too. Obviously, it's a rank 3 Gambit, but it's still really cool to see him put up stuff like that. And the cool thing is that this was actually the very final war in which power back boosts were normal. Because after this war, they got nerfed in the new update, and they no longer worked the way they used to. Also, I'm going to play this fight like a total moron, and I'm not going to take any hits to the face, but I probably deserve to, because I think at one point in this fight I throw a heavy into midair for like literally no reason. I don't know, I was just playing like an absolute moron. To be fair, it was a nothing fight. It was a Chee'Ilth, and even if I took a little bleed damage, it definitely would not have been an issue, especially because Hood obviously has some healing. But yeah, no, we're just going to play this fight like I have 0 brain cells. And we're going to bait the L1 here. And then we're going to try to counter it from like 10 miles away. Like, look how far I am, bro. I know Hood's heavy reach. I know that isn't going to land. What the hell am I doing? And I actually did have enough bullets there to end the fight. So had I got that detonation off, that would have killed her. But because they expired on their own, they do way less damage. Also, you'll notice I'm not being conservative with my bullets in this matchup. And the reason is because my only other Hood fight after this one is a Gorr, who is basically, I mean, I know he wasn't made to do it, but he was essentially made to just give Hood infinite bullets, and if you run out of bullets fighting Hood, I think it's time to resign the game because, or sorry, using Hood against Gorr specifically, I think it's time to quit the game because you're clearly doing something wrong. And here, what am I doing? Am I checking to make sure to check if invulns have? Oh, yes, I hadn't bought the invuln boost yet, so we were just buying it there so I could use it right here, I believe. But we do have a Longshot on the unblockable node here, and this was probably the fight I was the most worried about on my ult. I mean, there's one other one that I was a little bit worried about that actually ends up going really well. But this is going to be an unblockable long shot. We're just going to make sure to land our heavy attacks there. Unfortunately, our heavy attack does not inflict a slow, but we do land a light intercept. So now I'm just going to dash back. At this point, we do have enough debuffs that a heavy attack will guaranteed place to slow. And because I'm not using Stealth Spidey, I am able to counter the L1, which is really nice because Stealth Spidey's medium attack is a double medium, which means that it takes so long that if you try to counter his L1 by dashing in the middle and then dexing, you will not recover in time to dex. So with a champion like Luke Cage, you are able to. But yeah, no, that was a really satisfying fight. We did actually stand up, not stand up intercept, but like stand up, I guess it's technically an intercept. It's not really in the same style of what you normally consider a stand-up intercept, but I guess it's technically a stand-up intercept, what I did with that light attack there. And that's just something you can do against most defenders when you're running an attacker that knocks the defender down and then pushes you back a certain amount, is you can pretty consistently land those. And yeah, we did do that. So here we have a pretty cool matchup. This is going to be Luke Cage against Mr. Sinister. This is a matchup I wasn't 100% sure of because I wasn't sure if Luke Cage's concussion failed Sinister's ability to heal back crits. Turns out it does. It like completely turns off all his abilities. Now, obviously, in this matchup here, there's not really anything to be worried about no matter what you're doing. I believe Sinister is going to go unblockable before we get our concussion up. Yeah, so we're just going to bait L1s at this point. He's concussed. He's not even going to be able to put the DOT on us. And obviously I said he can't regen. But we're going to throw a heavy attack, and then here we're going to throw our second L2. But you can see all of these crits are giving him none of the unblockable charges or regeneration. So, yeah, very, very nice fight. 2 L2s into 1 L1, and that fight does get cleaned up in less than a minute. Gorr here, I think I get hit in this fight. Unless I'm... No, I think I'm confusing this with the Gorr I took in War 6 or 7 with Tigra. I'm pretty sure this one goes pretty smoothly. Now, obviously, in this matchup, Gorr is going to be healing a lot. And when he activates those regens, he is going to go unblockable. Hood just doesn't care. I mean, you remove all the buffs. He no longer has the ability to gain regen buffs. We're just going to cycle some L2s, and we are just going to melt this man. My Hood is Sig 180, which is obviously not the highest, because if he was 200, then his chance to power steal on medium attacks and special attacks, or SP2 specifically, while he is invisible, would be a little bit higher, but at 180, it's close enough. I think at Sig 200, it's a 40% chance per hit, and I think at Sig 80, it's like a 37 or a 38% chance. So it's basically the same thing. We're going to be really dumb in this fight. This is Luke Cage versus Hulkbuster. This is a really random placement for Hulkbuster because it doesn't actually do anything. Like, there's no interaction between the node and the defender that you wouldn't think of. Like, everything is super obvious here. So obviously we have the power sting. I think we're just going to throw the L2 to get our concussion up, and then the rest of the fight's just not really going to be much to worry about. I think here we're just going to, yeah, we're going to choose to eat the power sting damage because I know that willpower from both the armor up and the Power Sting, as well as when I crit, I have a chance to remove armor ups and inflict a shock on me, which of course will be dealing 0 damage due to the tactic. But the dumb thing that we do in this fight, for I don't even know what reason, is we're going to take an L1 to the face when he's at like 1% health. So that just cost us a few potions. Obviously, there's no risk of that killing us there. But I don't know why the stun was so short, because the stun before from the previous L1 was way longer. I don't know. Maybe there's an ability I'm overlooking. But anyways, we'll go on to the next fight here. We have Mangog on the power gain node. This is a pretty straightforward fight with Mangog, and not really too much to say. I've taken this fight, I want to say 2 times. This is my 3rd time taking it this season. Really straightforward. We are going to use an invuln boost that is going to last us for this fight and the next fight, which is our last fight of the war, of course, but not really anything to worry about from Mango. But we are going to have a little bit of a weird thing happen here in this fight, where I'm going to take a heavy attack to the face on 2 separate occasions, and that's because I just forgot how fast he threw it. So I didn't dex fast enough, and I lost 2 of my invuln charges. I'm not going to end up needing the 3rd one. Oh wait, yes, actually I am, because I'm gonna take an L3 right at the end of this fight. Okay, so I guess I did end up using all 3 of my invuln charges. But even on a node like this with Aspect of Evolution, with all the debuffs I have on him, lowering his attack rating from Inequity, and just everything that's going on in this matchup, there's nothing he can do to me. So even if he hit me with an L3 while I didn't have an invuln boost on, nothing would have gone wrong. So definitely not concerned. Here we're going to eat another heavy because I'm just slow and didn't react in time genuinely. But I knew I had another invuln boost here, so I knew this wasn't dealing much, well, any damage, I guess. So yeah, we take an L3 because I wanted to for fun, and we are now going to finish the fight off with a 3rd L2. Little over a minute. I mean, not the cleanest fight in the world, but for everyone who was map watching and just saw how much health I ended with, they might have thought it was a good fight, because you know what? I really optimized the use of my invuln boost there. Let's call it that. Let's call it intentional optimization. And that's just a little way to be a little more positive in your life by looking at things that way. All right, so we have Shocker here. This is on Conflictor node, and this is a fight that myself and the officer that does the planning were thinking about, because we had no idea who we wanted to send. But I did end up settling on what I was going to do, and that is that the entire fight I'm going to do nothing but parry heavy and light medium combos. I am never once going to give this guy an opportunity to throw a special attack while I have prowess puncture, like a puncture on him, or a single time when he had a prowess. And that was the strat going in. Obviously, because of the exhaustions and the withers, we are going to be reversing the Conflictor power gain. So a lot of the times it's just stealing like a half of a bar or even more from him. So pretty happy with how this went. And because obviously Shocker is immune to concussion, we are not going to be able to throw an L2 for a concussion, but I've taken Shocker with Luke Cage 2 or 3 times this fight, and the strat every single time has been just spam special 1, and even a 500,000 health Shocker on one of the last mini boss nodes didn't even last more than, what, I think that took 70 something seconds. So very, very happy with that. Overall, it was just a really cool war, whether I was using Hood, Gambit, Stealthy, or Luke. I just took a lot of interesting fights, many fights I've never taken before, and it was a really enjoyable war. I just very much enjoyed actually doing the war. And what happened in this war was very interesting, because the same way that we do most wars, we started off this war very badly, and then we decided to pick it up at the end of the war. So this was the final score. We won this war 8-9. They did die in like their 148th or 149th fight, like right at the end. But at that point, we had already cleared and they had already gotten their 8th death, and we'd already beat them on fight duration. So we knew the war was already won before they even died their 9th time. But yeah, we did end up winning this war, which is crazy because at one point in the war, I think we were down 4 deaths. But BG1 came in super clutch on the defense, and we actually got 5 defensive kills. We also had some really strange kills. For example, one of their players died twice using Stealth Suit Spider-Man, and the 2 fights he died to were fights I take so effortlessly, and fights that the second I see them, I just instantly know, oh, that's the easiest Stealth Spidey nuke in the world. I would never ever die to that fight no matter what. And he died to both of them, so I'm just assuming he was a brand new Stealthy player and he was probably just forced into that role for this war, which I am sorry if that was the case, because that's just unfortunate. But I will admit that when I saw who our defenders were that had specifically those 2 deaths, I was very surprised, because it was Node 38 Sentinel and Node 49 Mysterio fights so easy with Stealthy that I wouldn't even hesitate to say he's the best option for them. Well, arguably Beta Ray Bill's a little bit faster for 38 Sentinel, but for 49 Mysterio, Stealthy is unmatched. But yeah, BG1, super clutch. We did have one unfortunate death that prevented us from getting the donut, but everyone still played very well, and I am proud of how our battle group played. So hopefully we do continue this into the last 3 wars of the season, because this war BG1 has been a disaster, and we went from by far the best BG in the Alliance to by far the worst this season. So don't know why that is, but we will do our best to pick it up to finish the season. But yeah, like I said, we did end up winning this war, so we are now 3-5 on the season with 3 wars remaining. We have looked at the leaderboard, and if we win all 3 of our last wars and we go 6-5, we do have a chance at Masters. It's not guaranteed, because it is going to come down to the final war and who matches who, and if we just get unfortunate luck with the alliances that match each other, it is possible we could just be screwed, or we could tie alliances on record and lose on attack bonus or something like that. But all this goes to say, as long as we win the last 3 wars, there is a good chance that we make Masters. So that is going to be our only goal. But yeah, we have 3 deaths on the season, 2 on my main, 1 on my alt still, and my PSR is at 100 fights soloed out of 103, or 97% between my 2 accounts. And my main PSR is at 47 out of 49, or 96%. And my alt is at 53 out of 54 fights soloed, or 98%. My deathless streak after this war is up to 38 fights, 16 of those on my main and 27 on my alt. So that is going to be all for today. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.